Hey all, welcome to ShareTrek. This is Raj here. Friends, this video is for our genomic viewers, guys who are doing genomic investment. In today's analysis, I want to discuss recent government spending cuts to COVID vaccine development programs, and these are advanced COVID vaccine development programs, and what these shifts in federal funding priorities mean for the genomics and biotech investment landscape. The termination of several Project NextGen contracts signals a potential realignment of government biopharmaceutical spending that could impact our investment strategies and portfolio outlook in the coming quarters. And also, this particular review that I'm presenting to you comes from an industry trade magazine. So it has got a lot of facts from the industry sources that will give you the context in which our genomic companies are operating, the ones that are in our watch list. I want to share with you an industry news item that caught my attention recently. That said, let's get started. The US government has recently begun terminating contracts under Project NextGen, a $5 billion initiative launched to develop next-generation COVID-19 vaccines and therapeutics. This program was specifically designed to address waning immunity and viral resistance issues with current vaccine because COVID mutates very fast and herd immunity tends to diminish over a period of time. One of the latest casualties is GeoVax Labs. It's an Atlanta-based biotech company that received a stop work order from the Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Authority, or BARDA. That's the acronym used for that agency. They got this notice on April 11th, and GeoVax had been awarded $24.3 million to run a 10,000 participant phase 2B study comparing their vaccine Geo-CM04S1 against approved mRNA COVID vaccines. The contract had potential to reach $45 million in total. What makes this termination particularly significant is that Geo-CMS04S1 was the only multi-gen COVID vaccine candidate being tested under Project NextGen. It was specifically designed to protect populations who aren't sufficiently protected by currently available vaccines, including immunocompromised individuals. GeoVax isn't alone. Vaxart, a California company developing an oral COVID vaccine pill, also received a stop work order in March after enrolling 400 patients in their trial. The trial had been funded for up to $456 million. They subsequently laid off 10% of their staff. These funding terminations appear to be part of a broader reevaluation of vaccine funding priorities under the current administration. The Department of Health and Human Services had already been rumored to be reconsidering a $590 million contract for avian influenza mRNA vaccines with Moderna. Despite these funding cuts, GeoVax has stated they remain committed to continuing two other ongoing phase 2 trials for their vaccine candidate. One specifically targets patients with chronic lymphocytic leukemia, while another examines its efficacy as a booster for healthy adults who previously received mRNA vaccines. Early data suggests Geo-CM04S1 may provide a more robust and durable immune response, particularly for patients with compromised immune systems. It's worth noting that these funding cuts come at a time of mixed messaging around vaccines at the federal level. The appointment of known vaccine skeptic Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to lead HHS has raised concerns in the medical and scientific communities. Additionally, Dr. Peter Marks, former director for the FDA's Center for Biologics Evaluation and Research and a very strong vaccine advocate, recently stated he was pushed out after attempting to block Kennedy from unrestricted access to a federal vaccine safety database. The ramifications of these funding cuts extend beyond COVID-19. They represent a potential shift in how the government approaches pandemic preparedness and public health investments. With reduced federal support, we may see companies either abandoning promising vaccine research or seeking alternative funding sources, potentially slowing the development of next-generation vaccines for COVID and other infectious diseases. And friends, I would like to point out a very important aspect out here. One of the reasons why the world is depending on US is because US was pro-science, US was willing to take risks, US had a well-developed capital market, US had a very strong judiciary, it had a very strong security commission. All of this provided a really good stable platform for venture capitalists to move in and try their hand, for professionals to come for advanced education and then settle down to contribute to research development and keep US in the cutting edge. And the SEC was providing a very good platform in which foreign capital could come in and fund all these initiatives and keep on moving US forward at the cutting edge of technology. And that's the reason why the rest of the world looks at FDA as the gold standard. With the way the current administration is going on cutting costs, what is happening is that the whole infrastructure and everything that made US great for all these kind of initiatives is getting demolished step by step. Now, it's very important for other governments like the European Union Medical Authority and maybe the UK Medical Authority, Australian Medical Authority, and others to pick up the mantle and start funding these kind of initiatives, because the less developed countries depend on these medicines. And if we were thinking that, okay, let the less developed countries handle their problems, we have nothing to do with it, think again, because many of the diseases are pandemic kind of diseases, and if they are uncontrolled in the other areas, they are going to come into every area. And this also applies to diseases like HIV and hepatitis B. If their medicines are not being taken on an ongoing basis, patients become infective and accidents do happen and the contagion spreads. And that's the reason why it's very important for developed countries to fund these kind of initiatives and help us be prepared for the next pandemic, help us to be able to push back on retroviruses like HIV and hepatitis B, which are plaguing the communities. So that's the message that I want to give you. And especially for genomic investors, these developments present both challenges and opportunities. Companies heavily dependent on government contracts may face near-term volatility, as evidenced by GeoVax's situation. However, firms with diversified pipelines and multiple funding sources and maybe partnership with big pharma will likely weather these changes much better. The shift may accelerate private investment in vaccine technology, creating new partnership opportunities between established pharmaceutical companies and innovative startups. This also gives a very good opportunity for the European Union medical authorities, Canadian medical authorities, and other advanced countries to step up and take the mantle of FDA and start approving therapies and start issuing standardized guidelines for clinical trials and providing incentives like the orphan drug program and so on and so forth. So that's my message. And the same is the environment in which the companies in our genomic watch list operate. Watch the companies which are pivoting towards areas receiving federal support, or those developing platform technologies applicable across multiple diseases. The most resilient investments may be in companies developing technologies that can rapidly adapt to changing funding priorities while addressing unmet medical needs. This is a very high-level description of the kind of companies that we should be watching for. But as retail investors, it becomes very difficult for us to keep this in mind when we are looking at our companies. So when I start doing my next round of review of all the companies in our genomic watch list and looking at their pipelines, I'm going to try to keep this in mind and give my feedback on the viability of the company in this current environment. So with that said, I think that as always, I'll continue to monitor these policy shifts and their impacts on the genomic investment landscape. And in exchange, all I request is your feedback, because guys, I'm also a retail investor. I'm boldly sharing my thoughts with you. It's very difficult because I'm sending this out to the universe, right? So since I have taken that step, I request that you share your feedback in the comment section. And at the very least, please do not hesitate to press the like button if you like this video, as it helps the channel with the YouTube algorithms. Also, please subscribe if you have not already done so. Bye for now.